Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're building a complete mental model for how modern innovation really works. We're going to stack the big economic theories right on top of the practical frameworks to see how it all connects and ultimately how businesses today actually win. Yeah, that quote pretty much says it all, doesn't it? This idea of a turbulent environment, that's just the new normal. And because of that, being able to innovate isn't some nice-to-have luxury anymore. It's the absolute price of survival. But how do the really successful organizations pull it off? So to figure that out, we're going to build what we're calling the innovation stack from the ground up. We'll start with the foundation, the engine of change. Then we'll look at the big strategic choice every company faces. After that, we dive into the modern playbook for innovation, get real with the frameworks of success, and then finally, we'll put the whole thing together. Okay, let's get into it. At the very, very bottom of our stack, the concrete foundation for everything else is this powerhouse idea from an economist named Joseph Schumpeter. Schumpeter's huge insight was that real economic progress doesn't come from slow, steady, predictable growth. No, it comes from these massive jolts, these new combinations created by entrepreneurs that completely revolutionize how entire industries work. And you have to understand, this was a completely radical way of looking at the world. He said the economy isn't some system that's always trying to find a peaceful balance. It's a system defined by constant, churning, dynamic change. And the thing driving that change is innovation. This is our engine. So if Schumpeter's idea of dynamic change is our engine, then the next layer up in our stack is all about how you steer that engine. It's about the fundamental strategic choice that every single innovator has to make. And what's so fascinating here is that innovation isn't just about blowing up the old way of doing things. I mean, that's only half the story. It really exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have disruption, where you take on an existing market. But on the other, you have the creation of a completely new market, where literally nothing existed before. Just think about Muhammad Yunus and microfinance. He didn't try to go head-to-head with traditional banks. Instead, he created an entirely new market for financial services aimed at people the big banks had completely ignored. That one idea sparked new businesses, new jobs, and a whole lot of new hope. That's non-disruptive creation in action. And here we have the other end of the spectrum, just perfectly illustrated. The internal combustion engine was a direct, head-on, Schumpeterian replacement of steam power. So making this choice, to disrupt or to create, that's the architectural plan for your entire innovation strategy. All right, so we've got our engine and we have our architectural plan. But what about the actual construction methods? How do modern companies actually execute on these big strategies day in and day out? Well, one of the first things to realize is that innovation is almost never a solo act anymore. It happens in networks, and the shape of that network is absolutely critical. Being central in a network, that gives you access to resources. Having strong relationships, that lets you share complex ideas. But look at that last one. Clustering is a negative. And why is that? Because it creates an echo chamber. It starves you of the new, diverse, and sometimes weird ideas you need for a real breakthrough. It's the enemy of creativity. Alongside networking, the modern playbook is just obsessed with the human element, and that comes through in something called design thinking. Now, this isn't just about making things look pretty. It's a really disciplined process that forces a huge shift in perspective. It moves you from asking, hey, what can we build with our cool technology, to asking, what does a real human being truly need and desire? It's all about making sure you're solving a real problem for a real person. So we have our construction methods. But, any big construction project that doesn't have rules and tools is pretty much doomed to collapse. And that brings us to the most detailed layer of our stack, the frameworks that act as our building codes and our safety inspections. When it comes to managing the enormous risk in today's IT innovations, a lot of organizations turn to the gold standard, the NIST Risk Management Framework. NIST is the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, and their RMF is basically the official building code for cybersecurity. It is a super rigorous, step-by-step process that makes sure new innovations are built on a solid foundation of security, not just on hope. And to make sure these incredibly complex systems can actually adapt to that turbulent environment we talked about at the very beginning, you have to measure agility, because without metrics, agility is just another corporate buzzword. By actually tracking things like time to market or how fast you respond to change, you get real, hard data on whether your organization can actually pivot when it counts. It turns a vague goal into a tangible result. All right, let's zoom all the way back out and see how all of these pieces lock together. We have now built a complete, multi-layered model for understanding how modern innovation actually gets done in the real world. So here's the crucial takeaway. Each layer of this stack depends on the one right below it. You can't have an effective playbook without a clear strategy. You can't execute that strategy without a powerful engine driving it. And you can't manage the massive risks of it all without having robust frameworks in place. It is all connected. So this stack, it really gives you a powerful new lens to analyze any business. As you look at the world around you, ask yourself this: where are today's biggest companies strong? And maybe more importantly, which layer of their innovation stack might just be their fatal weakness?